back, everybody. We're here. We're here now at the back half of the season. Not even back half, the last quarter of the season, to be honest. We've got a top 10 matchup going on in 7:30 in Athens. You got Georgia at home taking on Texas. This was a big game last season. You know, you look at these two teams and how they played the last couple of years, or even going into last year. You know, Georgia is the one team that beat Texas twice last year, as far as the SEC championship game and during the regular season. And so to me, this game to me, a lot of people are looking at Texas, and I've heard a lot of commentary about, oh, Texas and Arch have kind of started to figure it out. To me, I'm not seeing it yet. You know, I'm not ready to pull that trigger and commit on that. You know, you go back and look at them; they do not play too well on the road. You know, you look at their last five games, you got the loss at Florida. You beat Oklahoma, but then you have a 16-13 overtime win at Kentucky. You have to come back as much as you did against Mississippi State in overtime to win that game. And then Vandy, you're at home and you get kind of an early lead on them, but then that's a slugfest against a good Vandy team. But I mean, you can't take away from the four wins in a row. You're going into Georgia. Georgia right now is rolling. They're holding served is what we know that they normally do, you know, other than the close game with Florida, but that is a rivalry game in a neutral site. And I still classify this whole season, I've classified Florida as a talented team. It just didn't have the right coaches in the right positions for that team. So I understand that one. You know, you've got your shootout with Ole Miss, the Auburn game, the Kentucky game, so on and so forth. But night game in Athens. I think this is right where Kirby Smart wants his team to be at this point in the season. You only have one loss, and that's to Bama. And even that loss was a small margin defeat earlier in the year. You've got the SEC game as far as the championship game ahead of you looking at, unless there's some crazy mix up that goes on with tiebreakers, and we can get into that a whole another time because I know you've got Texas A&M who's undefeated still floating around out there. You've got the tiebreaker between Bama and Georgia with one losses, and or you know, you got all this other craziness going on right now, and even Texas somehow is still in the mix. But when I look at this game, I look at it from two factors, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm saying, what has Texas been doing better lately that they weren't doing earlier in the season? That's running the ball. Um, and also being able to protect Arch Manning for him to make throws and see the field and do what he's supposed to do at the quarterback position. To me, I don't want to call it a trap game or anything like that, but you look at the statistics and Georgia on defense is 122nd in sacks, 121st in sack yards, 129th in tackle for loss, 133rd in tackle for loss yardage given up. And to me, those statistics for Georgia on defense are kind of alarming to me because it's not something that you see, but at the same time, this is a team where they're gonna always find a way to win, no matter what's going on during the game. And so I think this game really reminds me of if it's not gonna be a lopsided Georgia win, my brain shuts down and goes to, okay, well, if I'm looking at this matchup between these two teams that are in the top 10, it's a touchdown favorite game. Which quarterback right now? And I think if you had asked this question at the beginning of the season, you probably would have had a different opinion. But which quarterback do you trust more? Do you trust Gunnar Stockton more, or do you trust Arch Manning more in this ball game? And to me, what I've seen so far this season is Gunnar Stockton has done exactly what his coaching staff and this team has asked him to do to get them wins all throughout this season. Every single time they've gone out there to play, no matter if it's the big play, if it's running, if it's through the air passing, so on and so forth. And he's not the superstar quarterback that you want to have or that you would associate with a team that's ranked fifth in the country, but he gets the job done to an extent. Whereas you look at a Arch Manning who's got supposedly everybody calls him generational talent and all the talent in the world, and he's supposed to be the superstar. But you look at him, and if you get pressure on him, he's going to make a ton of mistakes, which is what the recipe that Florida threw at him, which is what the recipe that a lot of teams start doing at him. Is like, hey, if we get him uncomfortable, he's going to give us the ball, and he's going to make bad decisions and get the ball to the wrong areas of the field throughout the game. So, with that being said, I'm gonna keep. I tried to keep it as short as I could, but the key for Texas is to get the ball out quick, which is what you started to do at the beginning of the game against Vandy. Get some run, get their ball to your playmakers, get the ball out, let them make opportunities and plays in space. But I just think this is too tall of a task for Texas to come into Georgia to do at night. You're gonna have a full stadium. You've got a team that's of Georgia who I know Kirby's got them all eyes focused on what they want to accomplish still in front of them. And to me, I feel like this is lining up really into a, 31. I give them 31-17 type of ball game to me, just because of the environment, just because of the two teams, talent-wise, who's playing better right now. I just think Georgia gets out on top of them, and I think it's just they kind of just control the game from start to finish. Texas will get a score here and there, but for the most part, I don't think Georgia will ever feel in this game like, oh snap, we're kind of in trouble. I'll say that, but I'll leave it at that. So I'll give that score predict. Give me a 31-17 type of ball game for this one.
I'm right there with you, Van. I think that this game is way more about Georgia than it is about Texas. I think Texas really is going to get exposed in this one. I think that what they've been going through these last month of football is just getting lucky by facing these lower SEC teams and being able to squeak out and be a team that doesn't make many mistakes late in game situations. A lot of big difference between Kentucky, the Vanderbilts, the Mississippi State says when you really got to go against talent versus talent late game, they really don't have the guys to be like, you know what, I just need a shutdown corner, or I need a star receiver to go out there and make a play, or I need a star offensive line to go out there and just dominate in the fourth quarter so we can get this ball moving. And Texas does have that. And I think that's what you saw against these teams. And they said, once we get a little confidence, we can get things rolling. They're just about to go up against some dogs in Georgia that are just too much of a juggernaut right now. And I think that Kirby Smart is exactly where he wants to be in this season. And I think it's not, I don't, early in the week, I thought this would be more of a trap game, but I think this is more of just we're about to steamroll somebody and show you that we're really one of these top five teams in the country. And I think that's what you're going to see Saturday night in Athens with Georgia going against his team. And I think that Arch Manning, you either gonna put up or you're gonna shut up. You're either gonna barbecue or you're gonna mildew in this game. You're either gonna be the guy that you are expected to be in this game, or you're never gonna be him. I truly believe that. And I think that this game right here could be something that puts Shark on the hot seat, not this season, but early next year, saying he's gotta win something significant here and not just get a dud in these things and not just show up in these big games. But man, I want Texas to come out really swinging in this game because if they don't get up by 2 to 3 touchdowns, I'm right there where you are, Van. I think it could be a 31, 38 to 14 to 10 type of game. Like I truly think it's something that if Texas doesn't get it rolling early, they're not gonna get it rolling.
Yeah.
And it is a true elimination game for Texas. It's not an elimination game for Georgia, but it is an elimination game for Texas in the aspect of if you get your third loss here, you're done for. You're not getting back in the top 12. So you got everything to fight for, all the motivation on the field. Can you go into Athens and get it done? My last point I want to make about this game, man. Seeing Georgia these last couple of seasons, man, I know that when Alabama and Georgia negotiated their 3 to 4 year contract, it had to be Nick Saban mixed in that. Because Nick Saban said, we got to face this team within the first 4 weeks of the season. Otherwise, I ain't doing it. Because you face Georgia late in the season, you just go up against a team that's found their identity by that point. The only thing that threw them off last year was Carson Beck's turnover issue. I think if Gunnar Stockton does not turn the ball over in this game, they are dog walking Georgia. No pun intended. I mean, dog walking Texas. No pun intended. And it's going to be an eye opening type game, a true eye opening type game.
Yeah, it definitely has the potential to be that. I think uh, the one thing that the one thing that Georgia is going to do to make Texas extremely uncomfortable or Arch Manning extremely uncomfortable is they're going to keep them in third and long. Okay. Um, when you're playing against lesser teams, you can run the ball twice and get into like a 3rd and 3, even a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 2 type situation, and you can run an average play and grab those yards. That's what Texas has been doing these past 4 weeks. It's been, yeah, they've been doing what they're supposed to do. If I'm coaching Texas right now and I'm coaching Arch Manning, I'm trying to get better at doing the things that we just need to be able to do well, which is run, block, tackle. Because I really think that Sark realized that he did not have what he thought he had when the season began. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't what he thought he had, and that's very unfortunate for him. He's done a decent job as a coach. You know what I'm saying? Sark's he's a good coach. Um, but he's just slow walking his team through this season as best as he can, so it does not look so bad. A loss at Georgia, yes, it knocks you out the playoffs, but it is still a loss at Georgia, which is something that the athletic director at Texas, of course they want to win these types of games, but it's one that you say, hey, if I lose it, hey, I'll take a road night loss at Georgia. I'll take it. Again, it's unfortunate that it knocks you out of the college football playoff, but at least you got to the last quarter of the year and still were in the conversation, a la Texas. Now, Georgia, on the other hand, yes, they absolutely have a lot going on in a positive light. This game being at home for them is a good one. I do think Kirby Smart is a better head coach than Steve Sarkisian is. I think Steve Sarkisian needs to give the keys up on his offense and do more coaching and let the offense to some sort of capable offensive coordinator, because you're going to always have the talent there at Texas. It's just going to be, how good is the coaching staff really gelling, and are you missing on recruits? I'm not saying they missed on Arch Manning, but Arch Manning being your quarterback has got you where you are today, honestly.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I want to call that a recruiting miss or coaching miss, but something is there. But the more they stay in 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8, 9 and 10, the more Georgia's going to tee off on them in this game. And Georgia's going to do a really good job of keeping them in 3rd and distance, man, because Arch is not going to be comfortable at any point in time in this game. The first snap of the game, he's not going to be comfortable. I don't care what play Sark draws up. He's not going to be comfortable. He don't look comfortable against anybody. He just doesn't. And it's not going to change against Georgia. So um, this is definitely a double-digit win for Georgia. This is a statement game for Georgia. Um, the only thing this game does not do for Georgia is put them ahead of Alabama in the CFP rankings because of the head-to-head. It just can't happen. But you will start to have the pundits talk about Georgia. It's like, hey, man, this is a team that I think can win a national championship after they just completely demoralize Texas on Saturday evening. So that's where I'm at with this one.
Yeah, I think when you think about this game, Sean, comparing what you're just talking about with Arch, it's a crazy hot take, but I think we're closer to seeing Arch get benched in this game rather than you see Arch have a breakout game.
Ooh, okay, yeah. I didn't think about that.
That's what I feel with this game right here. Just because I feel like he's the type of guy with a deer in headlights, and you
Yeah.
trying to say the mistake that was made. I think they just got bamboozled. I think they just got bamboozled, and just I think the product that was presented to him was presented in a way where it's looking way better than what actually it is. And Shark got in that film room and on that practice field, it was like, oh snap, this kid's actually not mentally developed as some of these other kids coming into this to the atmosphere. And that's just because of the talent he played in high school. But I think this game right here is going to prove it's going to prove one or the other. And I'm not trying to make it a hot take. If somebody clips it and takes it, great. But what do you expect in this game from Arch Manning? It can't be anything great. It can't be. So it's my, and I think you're going to fall right into Kirby Smart's hands with what Arch is going to bring to the table. And I think it's something that they're going to run with, and it's going to be a game control. And I think right now the only true teams that can stop Georgia is going to be Ohio State or Bama.
Yeah.
They're just on that type of historic run right now when you think about what their momentum is. And it usually get it in this type of season. Last year, I think it was a Florida game that was late where Carson Beck just decided he's going to turn the house over. You saw the same thing with him against Miami and SMU, though. He just has those games where I'm just going to throw the ball to the other team. But Gunnar Stockton can play within their system, and I think they got a perfect system to beat Texas. Texas just can't. They got to get some turnovers. That's the only way I see this game come out in their favor. But I got a big 3 touchdown game after Saturday night for this one.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. And Gunnar Stockton is the quarterback that Kirby Smart needs leading his team for real. I mean, like you said, you just talked about Carson Beck and how he just wasn't, really able to get it done consistently but he don't need that. You look at where Kirby Smart came from. He came from a Nick Saban tree. He needs quarterbacks to be manage the game and not lose the game. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's all Carson Beck was doing. So he's got the guy that can use his legs and get a first down. On that 3rd and 8. Uh, you know, um, it's just I just think Georgia's just too much. You know what I'm saying? I hate to say it, but they're just a little too much, and I think they are growing and getting much better with Gunnar Stockton. And as long as Gunnar Stockton is not trying to prove himself as the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference, he will lead his team to a few more victories this season, which could lead them to playing in the national championship game. So they're good enough to do that. So this is just a roadblock for them, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be this could be a rough night for Texas fans, but for Georgia, like I said, this could springboard you. I don't think you'll surpass Bama. Now, albeit this is Georgia's last conference game, so you kind of solidify your place after this. I know Bama still has after Oklahoma, they have Auburn, so they would need if you're Georgia, you need Bama to lose two more, is the way it is. If they lose one SEC game, they still own the tiebreaker. So I
Correct.
believe that they need to lose both Oklahoma and Auburn in order to leapfrog them to be in that championship game. But I'm not somebody that sees that coming, but that lines you up if you're Georgia to say, hey, we're probably going to get a home playoff game where we're on campus, and then whatever your path or your route is from there could actually, I think, help. And we'll get when we get close to the playoffs, we'll discuss where do you think you should be because you look at Ohio State last year who won it. They didn't take that bye. They were able to get out of that bye week, started playing week 1 in the playoffs against Texas, I mean against Tennessee, and you just went week to week to week and just kept that momentum going all the way. So maybe it could play into your hands. And like I said, we'll discuss that when we get closer to that decision date of where you would want to fall. But as like I said, this should be a game you kind of tune in. If it starts to pull away, you get the middle of that second quarter, you might be able to swerve off into another type of either college basketball or other football games that are on Saturday night to keep you entertained a little bit more than this one. But albeit it is what it is. Well, I just
Yeah.
want to say thank everybody for tuning in. Leave a comment. Let us know what y'all think about this. I know we've had a couple of Georgia fans that pop in here and there and leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. We'll definitely address it or get back to you. Love to hear from you. And until then, we'll watch these games and we'll follow back up with you next week. So until then, peace out.
Deuce.